The House That Erases Act 1. The Price of Disappearance, sound of a sputtering car engine, followed by a final, choking sputter and silence. The crunch of gravel under tires. The silence that fell was not a peaceful one, but a suffocating absence of sound. It was the kind of silence that happens when something fundamental, the engine of a life, the momentum of a path, stops completely. Lila rested her forehead on the cool steering wheel, the scent of leather and dust filling her lungs. The car, her faithful partner for a decade of her life, lived on the run, was dead. It had carried her 1,000 miles from the city, up a winding mountain road, and then, with a final, gasping breath, it had chosen its resting place, the long, overgrown gravel drive of a house that didn't appear on any map. "This is it, Lila." Her own voice, an old friend in her head, was a low, steady hum. The last one. No more ghost towns, no more looking over your shoulder. Just this one final score. The score was a set of emeralds, the legendary tears of the serpent. A collection so ancient and priceless, they were more myth than reality. Teaked, were tucked away in the sprawling country estate of a reclusive widow named Elar Vance. For months, Lila had meticulously studied the woman's life, her schedule, her security systems. She knew Elara attended a specific charity gala every year without fail, leaving the house empty, a fortress of steel and silent alarms. But the house looming before her in the bruised twilight was no fortress. It was a home, a massive Victorian-style home, its wooden porch wrapped in a thick, sweet-smelling curtain of honeysuckle. A lone wind chime, a delicate whisper of metal, stirred in the gentle breeze. There was no hum of electricity, no glint of motion sensors, just the insistent chirping of crickets. Lila's stomach, a tight knot of professional anxiety, tightened further. Every detail she had meticulously gathered was wrong. She had planned this for her sister, Maya, for the chance to finally, truly disappear and live a life Maya would have wanted. Maya, who had seen Lila's brilliance, but had only ever wanted her to use it for good, had been gone for 5 years, a casualty of a past heist gone wrong. This was the final step in a silent promise Lila had made to her ghost. The emeralds were the down payment on her freedom. The house, this beautiful, eerie, wrong house, was the final hurdle. She opened the door, and the air hit her thick with the cloying sweetness of honeysuckle, the faint scent of rain-soaked earth, and something else, something savory and warm, like freshly baked bread. She was about to round the house to find a way in through the back when a warm, golden light spilled onto the porch. Sound of a heavy wooden door opening with a soft, gentle creak. "Hello?" A soft voice called out. "Is someone there?" Lila froze, a decade of honed instincts taking over. She let her heavy gear bag, filled with lockpicks, wire cutters, and signal jammers, slip from her shoulder. The thud on the wood was a stark sound in the stillness. She took a deep, shuddering breath and let a flicker of genuine terror, the kind of terror that comes from a plan gone utterly, irrevocably wrong, soften her face. An old woman with a cloud of silver hair and a hand-knitted shawl stood in the doorway. She wasn't Elar Vance, the hardened, reclusive widow. She was Martha. Her face was a gentle map of wrinkles, and her eyes, a faded blue, held a kindness so absolute it was deeply unsettling. "Oh, my dear, you look lost," Martha said, her voice laced with unwavering concern. "You're shaking. My car." Lila's voice came out in a genuine whisper of exhaustion. "It broke down a few miles back. I've been walking, was hoping to find a phone." "A phone? Oh, my dear, no phones work this far out," Martha said, her tone filled with a profound sorrow. "But you're safe now. Come on in, George. Come here. This girl needs a cup of tea." A man's heavy but kind footsteps approached from within. George was a mountain of a man, built like a retired farmer, with a booming, grandfatherly voice. He took one look at Lila, his face breaking into a broad, kind smile. Well, bless her heart. A car in this weather. Martha, get the girl a blanket. Come on in, darling. You're safe now. Don't you worry about a thing. Leela's mind was a frantic scramble of calculations. The heist, as planned, was compromised, but the house was now wide open. This was a new opportunity, a different kind of infiltration. She could still get the emeralds, but now she would have to get them from inside. She forced a tired, grateful smile and let herself be led into the warmth of the home. The front door closed behind her with a definitive, hollow click. The house was suffocatingly warm. The air was thick with the scent of baked bread, cinnamon, and something else, something musty and floral, like pressed flowers in a forgotten album. They set her down to a dinner of roasted chicken, fresh bread, and wild greens from a garden Leela couldn't see. The food was simple but delicious, and George and Martha's conversation was a well-worn song, filled with an easy, homespun charm. Lila observed them with a thief's meticulous eye, searching for the crack in the veneer. They were perfect, too perfect. During dinner, Leela's eyes fell upon a family photo on the mantelpiece. The edges were soft with age, but something about the image was off. A young man, a son, was slightly blurred, his features smudged as if someone had tried to erase him with a cheap eraser. A jolt of pure, instinctual unease shot through her. When she asked about him, George's smile didn't waver, but his eyes went distant, unfocused. "Oh, our boy," he said, his voice vague and strangely detached. "He's away. He's a good boy, a very good boy." Martha nodded, her smile unchanged, but her eyes held a hollow, practiced cheerfulness. "He's always with us, dear, always." The conversation moved on, but Lila's mind was stuck on the blurred photograph and the unblinking kindness of their eyes. The house, for all its suffocating warmth, now felt like a place of secrets, a place where memories were not just kept, but curated. Act 2. The cracks in the facade. Sound of a distant grandfather clock chiming 3 resonant notes. A faint, rhythmic humming begins. The distant clang of the grandfather clock resonated through the stillness. 3 a.m., the hour of ghosts and thieves. Lila's internal monologue was a cold, pragmatic whisper in the darkness. The kids are tucked in. The old folks are snoring. Time to go to work. She slid out of the overly soft guest bed, her bare feet making no sound on the plush, ancient carpet. She was a shadow, a phantom in the golden light of the moon. Her mind, a finely tuned instrument, registered every detail. The gaudy, folksy furniture, the glint of solid gold trim on the fireplace she had noticed earlier, the scent of lavender and dust that filled the air. She was on the inside now, and the heist was back on. She moved silently down the hall toward the study. Her instincts told her the safe would be behind the hideous floral painting that clashed with everything else in the room. As she crept, a faint, rhythmic humming reached her ears. It was a low, almost imperceptible vibration that seemed to emanate from the very walls of the house. It was unsettling, a sound that she couldn't place. It drew her attention away from the heist, her professional curiosity overpowering her caution. The sound was coming from above. The attic. Leela changed course, her footsteps now as silent as falling snow. She found the attic door at the end of the hall, a heavy, unpainted slab of wood. She pushed it open, and it didn't creak. It sighed, a long, sibilant sound that felt like a breath being exhaled. The air in the attic was thick and stale, and the humming was louder here, a low, malevolent thrum that seemed to fill the very space. The scent of ozone and something akin to scorched earth hung heavy in the air. Leela cut the beam of her flashlight through the gloom, its white eye illuminating the dusty wreckage of a forgotten life. A rocking chair, a spinning wheel, stacks of old newspapers, and a table covered in a fine layer of dust, where a pile of photographs lay scattered. She picked one up. It was a wedding photo, the bride and groom, radiant and smiling. But the man's face, so clear in the photo, was becoming a smear of gray. "He's not just blurred," she whispered, the dread in her voice a cold, hard fact. "He's being erased." A brittle old journal fell from the pile, its pages turning to dust as it hit the floor. She picked it up, her fingers trembling, and read the first few lines of a faded, looping script. "I can't remember his name, our son's name. It's getting harder and harder. The house has taken it." Leela dropped the book, and it crumbled into nothing. Single, rhythmic thump, like a slow, beating heart, began to sound from the corner of the attic. Her flashlight beam, now shaking, found the source. It was a shape under a dusty sheet. She pulled the sheet back, her breath catching in her throat. "No," she whispered. It was a body, but not a body. It was a statue of a man, his face frozen in a rictus of silent terror, his skin a fine gray stone that was already beginning to flake and crumble. It was the sun. Leela's mind, a razor-sharp instrument, pieced it all together. The blurry photographs, the vague memories, the suffocatingly perfect charm of Martha and George. The house wasn't just a house. It was a predator, a massive, patient parasite. And the couple she'd met weren't the family, okay? They were the lure, the bait, the house's mouth, designed to draw people in and consume them. Okay. The humming in the walls grew louder, more frantic. The attic door, which she had left ajar, slammed shut with a bone-rattling crash. "Let me out," she screamed, her voice a raw animal sound. She pounded on the door, but it was solid, unyielding. It wasn't locked. It was fused, a part of the house itself. The walls ground, the floorboards shifted, and a large crack opened in the middle of the room. The house was alive. It was hungry. Leela's fear gave way to a cold, hard defiance. The thief was back. She would not be an easy meal. Act 3. The house that consumes sound of a low, continuous humming. The distinct sound of footsteps running on wood, punctuated by splintering sounds. Heavy breathing. Lila ran, her bare feet pounding on floorboards that were now shifting, undulating, like the deck of a ship in a storm. The house was no longer a structure. It was a living, breathing organism. The walls were now a shimmering, translucent membrane. She could see them, now ghostly, fleeting images of other lives the house had taken. Faded wedding portraits, fragments of children's toys, and the hushed echoes of voices long since silenced. The house, speaking with Martha's sweet, loving voice, cooed at her from the walls. "It's a beautiful place, isn't it, dear?" "So many memories." George's voice, a deep, comforting rumble from the floorboards, added with a horrifying finality, "Don't be afraid. We're all one, now, together, forever. I know what you are." Lila screamed, her voice cracking with defiance. "A parasite. You feed on people, then you erase them, not dust," dear George's voice said, now filled with a cold, predatory glee. "Sustenance. We absorb their ... essence, their light. We make them part of us." Then she saw it. Single, loose floorboard in the corner of the room. A flaw, a weakness, a memory the house hadn't fully digested. Her thief's instincts, honed by a life of finding the cracks in every system, screamed at her. That was her way out. That was the crack. But as she scrambled toward it, the translucent forms of Martha and George flickered into existence, their faces masks of loving sorrow, their voices the hungry echoes of the house itself. They were the house's cells, its sentries. They cornered her, their phantom limbs of light and shadow reaching out. Lila's scream was a raw, unadulterated cry of terror as the house closed in. The humming reached a deafening pitch, and then a shocking, absolute silence. It was happening. The erasure. It wasn't a quick death. It was a slow, systematic dismantling. First, the sound. The roar of the house faded, and her own heartbeat with it. All that was left was a ringing silence and a terrible cold, the cold of absolute emptiness. The crystalline crackling started in her head, the sound of her own memories being dismantled. She couldn't feel her hands, her feet. They were a memory, a ghost of a life that once held tools, that once lived. The memory was fading. She could almost, but not quite, remember them. Her name? Lila. It felt like a lie, a whisper. The sand-like sound of her past falling into nothingness began. Her first heist, the thrill of it, gone. Her mother's face, gone. Her anger, her defiance, her whole life. They were chewing on it, digesting it, making it into nothing. I'm a thief. Her voice, now a faint, distant thing, echoed in the void. I stole things. Now I'm being stolen. Every part of me. Soon there would be no me. It was a kind of hell, a terrible awareness of her own unmaking. She felt the last threads of her existence being pulled apart, one by one. A final, sharp crackle. Her voice was gone. A long, satisfied creak echoed through the house. The humming faded, and all that was left was the distant sound of rain and crickets. The house was quiet, full.